Hello, and welcome to So You Think You Can Rule Persia, the podcast where we rate and review all the kings of Persia from Antiochus to Yazdegerd III. I'm Serial, and my pronouns are they, them.
And I'm Umberto, my pronouns are he, him. So hello everybody, and welcome to episode 24, which is the episode on Seleucus II, also known as Seleucus Callinicus.
I keep thinking you're saying St. Lucas.
No, there are two different people.
I know.
16 different people, presumably.
Fair.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so last time we left off with chaos.
Just to change it up a little. Just to be original.
Yes, so we left off with chaos with Antiochus II, because, if you remember last time, he became king almost by accident because his elder brother was executed for some reason.
Yep.
Then he had a relatively uneventful reign, or rather, not well-sourced reign, where
he did all right.
A big Syrian war.
Nothing too impressive, but yeah.
Yeah, and then bits of the empire were sort of drifting away. It was meh.
Mm-hmm.
But the big deal is that at the end, he married a Ptolemaic princess called Berenike, and had a son with her called Antiochus.
The thing is, it would have been a more or less uneventful, like there's a lot of things he could have done better, right? But for like all the tumultuous things that had been happening, he was doing fine. And then he decided to just freaking go for the most outrageous decision you could go for and just ruin it for everybody.
Exactly.
He married a Ptolemaic princess because that's not going to cause any trouble.
Yeah, so he marries Berenike and has a son with her, called Antiochus, of course. Problem is, he already had a wife, supposedly a love match, called Laodike.
And like that in itself is not a problem, because we've seen that before. You can have more than one wife in this culture, but he also had sons who he probably had brought up with the idea of like, you will succeed me, and now not so clear, but also like, it would have been as easy as saying, and then if people didn't, respect it, that's on them afterwards. But it would have been as easy as saying, okay, this son of this lineage is going to be the successor, right? Like, whichever.
Yes, that would have made things a lot easier. But he decided no.
Guess what?
Yeah, so he has two sons from Laodike. The first one is called Seleucus II, which is our protagonist, and the second one is called Antiochus Hierax, which will become important in the future.
Sounds like it.
So Antiochus died mysteriously without naming an heir while he was in Ephesus with Laodike and that side of the family.
Suspicious.
And so everything has been thrown into chaos because on the one side we have Laodike and her children.
Mm-hmm.
On the other side we have Berenike and her son Antiochus.
Right.
But also Berenike's brother, King Ptolemy III. So everything is set up for destruction, chaos, and having a hard time figuring out who should actually be king anyway. So there we go. That is the recap of Antiochus II.
Every tension you could put in there was put in there. We're missing like a war.
Yes. Well, you'll have your wish
I'm sure
soon
it won't
enough.
be too hard to find,
Also, before we start with Seleucus' episode, his epithet is Callinicus, or Callinicus, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Serial, can you divine anything from this name?
How is it written? Callinicus. Give me the visual. I need to,
Callinicus. There we go.
Ooh, okay. So from my knowledge of Latin and Greek, which comes from Spanish being my first language, that's all of the knowledge I have. Callinicus. I have no idea. I'm trying to think of any words I can compare it to. The only thing that comes to me is Deinonychus, which not in this case.
That's a different, I guess.
I don't think it has anything to do with a terrible claw.
No.
So
it would be interesting, though.
What does Callinicus mean?
Basically, Callinicus comes from the word kalos, from calligraphy, and Nikos from Nike, victory.
Well, I figured that Nikos would be victorious, but I didn't know what else. Okay.
So it's he of the beautiful victory, he of the good victory. That sort of.
Not of the written victory, as in calligraphy?
No, unfortunately,
calligraphy is beautiful script, yeah?
Yeah, so it's beautiful script. So there we go. So that's what you can expect. Is this one going to be an ironic one? We'll find out. Maybe, maybe not.
I want to see which victory they're talking about.
Yes. So let's begin with his birth. He is born in 265. He's the oldest son of Antiochus II and his first wife Laodice. So that's nice. We don't know many other things about him before his reign, except the fact that, well, the succession was thrown into turmoil by his father's marriage to Berenike, as we saw in the recap. So easy enough.
He is technically the first son of Antiochus and therefore the one who would have been elected to succeed him, I assume.
Yeah, if you're going by straightforward primogeniture, then yes. In normal times, he would have been the automatic succession. But these aren't normal times.
Well, we're talking about him in this episode, so, you know.
Yeah, so he lasts long enough to warrant an episode. So what happens is that, well, Antiochus II is dead. He arrived in Ephesus at the palace. Maybe Laodice killed him. Maybe he just accidentally had a heart attack. It could happen.
Yeah, usually your heart attacks are accidental. You know, that's how you have them.
I
usually.
Mean, or it could have been an on-purpose heart attack from Laodice. We don't know.
On purpose from his wife, not from him, you know.
Yes, of course. So now there is an issue because we need to understand who is the king and how do we sort this out. Well, according to some later authors, so it's unreliable, but it's fun. So the authors are Pliny and Valerius Maximus.
Okay, so the Romans.
Yes. So Laodice hired a man called Artemon in the palace, who looked a lot like the late King Antiochus, and decided to dress him up like the king, and then have a big scene at the palace where he was far enough away that people couldn't look at the detail, where the false Antiochus declared Seleucus as his successor and the new king.
Okay.
So, with this sort of stage play, we've managed to secure Seleucus's legitimacy against the other Antiochus.
But once Antiochus was already dead, or?
Yes, once Antiochus was dead, then Laodice just hired this other guy.
Okay.
So there we go.
And then faked his death as well, or what are we doing?
Presumably she just announced that Antiochus was dead a few days later and said, but remember the thing you said 2 days ago about my son being the heir? Yes, there we go.
What is it with the Persian, or rather historians studying Persia and focusing on lookalikes and, all of this imposter kind of business?
I guess it just makes for a fun story.
Because this is the second time it happens. Or third. Actually, I'm losing count.
Yeah, it's been a few times. I mean, we also get imposters in Roman history in the future. There's going to be a whole set of fake Neros, which is funny. Oh,
yeah, that's true. Yeah. I forgot. Yeah.
So imposters are just fun. Why not have an imposter?
Why would you want to impersonate Nero, of all people?
We'll get into it in our episode. It's relevant to the people who are occupying Persia at the time.
Oh, okay.
So we'll see. But anyway, whatever happens, whether this scene happened or not, or it's just poetic flourish, Seleucus is declared king in Ephesus, but Berenike, who is in Antioch, in the capital of the empire, declares her son
of course,
as the rightful ruler.
What the hell? We're not doing any of that. Excuse you.
Yeah. So the advantage here that Seleucus has is that he is the most legitimate of all of Antiochus's children.
Plus, he's a grown man capable of leading an army.
Yeah, he's the only grown man capable of leading an army, and his younger brother Antiochus Hierax is still early teens, and the baby Antiochus is a baby, so can't do much.
Fair enough.
But Berenike is not backing down, neither is Seleucus, so it's time for a civil war. Hooray! It's been so long since we had a civil war. So what happens? Berenike starts to gain control of Syria and Cilicia, which are the core of the empire and where all the treasury is stored.
Mm-hmm.
So they have all the money. Excellent.
Right. Important. Good resource to have.
Also, Berenike sends a letter to her brother, the newly crowned pharaoh Ptolemy III.
Ah, right.
And says, hey, sail over here to support your nephew, and we'll make sure it's in your interest.
Yeah, we'll make sure the empire stays in the family, Wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, that works. Also, knowing the incest habits of the Ptolemies, they can probably figure something out to make the titles merge.
Literally in the family.
Very much. So Ptolemy thinks this is a great idea, awesome. So he decides to start sailing off towards Syria. And it seems that actually he was so well prepared that maybe he was just planning a war anyway. And this just happened to be a nice excuse. So
honestly,
could be.
We knew that this marriage of his sister with Antiochus was a bit of a, let's call it a draw.
Yeah.
But we're both putting our cards for our empires to merge and one of us to be on the throne, right? So, like, there's been tension. I'm sure he was happy to move that.
There's a reason this is the third Syrian war we have.
Syria.
In as many kings.
Just terrible luck.
Yeah, not ideal. So Ptolemy heads over towards Syria with his ships, and Seleucus is marching to the east to try and take back the capital and,
establish himself.
It's usually good for your legitimacy if you own the capital. So let's do that.
Also because that's where Berenike is with little Antiochus. So,
So if you get rid of them, then that makes things a lot simpler. And we are told that at a certain point, while Ptolemy and Seleucus were on their way towards Syria, Berenike and the baby were assassinated.
Oh, okay, so even before they got there or anything, just...
Yes, before anybody managed to get there.
Well, that's that.
Yeah, and apparently, according to some sources, this is on Laodike's orders, but that's the usual blaming the woman about the terrible thing that happened, and it's unlikely that Seleucus wouldn't have known anything about this or wouldn't have approved the funds for the murder.
Also, exactly.
Was indeed that
come
sort of
on.
thing.
If she had such loyal people in the capital, I feel like she would have done something before, or like, I mean, it could be. I don't know. That gives her way more power.
It is possible,
we thought. So if she could, that's what I would do too. If it's within your power to do so.
It's a smart move. Yeah. It's just not politically correct. It's just nicer to drop the blame on someone else.
It's not politically correct to murder people, I see.
I know. The PC police have come for everybody now. You can't even murder your nephew.
Seriously.
Or half-brother. However, the murderers in the city found that there were still a lot of loyalists for Berenike and baby Antiochus, so to avoid getting murdered themselves, they decided to just have decoys, a decoy princess and young king, to ensure that everything remained stable until Seleucus arrived.
Oh, interesting.
So, second decoy of the episode.
Yep. Which probably easier, And this also makes sense if, like you said, you don't want to get murdered because the person you supported is gone. And so...
Yeah, exactly.
There will be some unrest, let's say.
Yeah, you don't want to be in a city that's just found out their king is dead and you did it.
Yep.
Not a good look. So at this point, Ptolemy and Seleucus race towards Antioch with none of them really knowing that, or rather, not officially knowing that Berenike is dead.
True, right.
But the first one to arrive is Ptolemy III.
Oh, heck. I was hoping Seleucus would be first.
Alas, no. Ptolemy lands with a small personal force in Antioch and captures the city, because it's held by a lot of Berenike loyalists.
Right.
And when he arrives there, he finds out, oh wait, my sister and nephew are dead. What now?
Wait, he captures the city, but it's because it's taken by Laodike's loyalist.
No, Berenike's loyalist.
Berenike's loyalist. Wait.
Yeah. Because basically, even though the queen is dead, her loyalists still hold the city, which is why.
But why would Ptolemy have to take it? He's on the same side.
I mean, he doesn't really take it as in conquer it, he just marches in, really.
Okay. But open doors?
Yeah, basically, the people of Antioch say, hey, this is the uncle of the king, let's let him in. And Ptolemy enters.
Because my impression was that like he had to somehow fight his way in, and I was like, that makes no sense.
No, he takes it as in he just becomes the guy in control by walking in.
Okay.
It's relatively straightforward.
I am the guy with the guns coming through.
Yeah, basically. The guy with all the spears, please step away. Well, there he finds out, yes, my sister is dead, my nephew is dead.
Fun.
How do we spin this? What's happening? So Ptolemy decides that he is going to also pretend that both are still alive.
Yeah. Smart move.
So he basically marches across Syria with his army and says, hey, listen, I'm in support of the baby king Antiochus. I'm his uncle. Please open your gates. And a lot of cities do open their gates because Well, why not?
Yeah.
It's the guy with weapons, and he is technically speaking for a king.
Yeah, for the king, the new king that you've heard is new and legitimate, so...
Yeah. At this point, Ptolemy gets a glint in his eye as he starts to look towards the east.
Right.
And he says, Babylon's nice this time of year.
Oh, Babylon. It's been a while since someone had to conquer you.
Yeah. So he decides to march east and invade Mesopotamia.
As you do.
And he apparently seems to conquer all of it. He manages to
damn.
conquer Babylon, Seleucia on the Tigris, all the way up to the border of Iran. Although there's a Babylonian chronicle that says that maybe the citadel of Babylon was still Seleucid, but the rest of the city fell to Ptolemy.
Not looking great.
So that's not ideal.
Mm-hmm.
Also, in an inscription commissioned by Ptolemy, which is a little place in Egypt, he claims to have conquered or subdued all the lands from Egypt to Bactria in the far east of the Seleucid Empire.
Did he, though?
It's unlikely to be fully true, but he definitely took Babylon and Syria, which are the core important areas of the Seleucid
It'd be
Empire.
very funny to me if he's like, let's just exaggerate a little bit, you know.
It could be.
Just to look good.
But it's also possible that when he conquered Babylon, all the eastern satraps thought, oh, this is dangerous. Let's just send messages to Ptolemy saying, hey, we're on your side as long as you hold Babylon. And just officially been on his side, but practically not really. But anyway, after all these glorious conquests, Ptolemy is called back to Egypt because there seems to have been a rebellion that sprung up.
Ah, surprise! A rebellion in Egypt? Huh?
Even when you're the ruler of Egypt, still Egypt. So it looks like Ptolemy didn't really feel like permanently conquering all these areas he had taken from the Seleucids.
Mm-hmm.
Because basically, from every city he's conquered, he basically takes all the movable wealth.
Okay.
And the elephants that were housed in Antioch. They had a special elephant farm for war elephants.
Damn.
So he steals all their elephants, steals all their gold, and just heads back to crush this rebellion in Egypt.
So he pillages and plunders.
Yeah, he takes everything that's possible. But in the meantime, our boy Seleucus, who is the protagonist, has finally made preparations, managed to gather a large enough army with which he can move to take back the core of his empire and not just be the ruler of 3 villages in Anatolia.
Mm-hmm.
So what he does is he already has a sister married to the king of Cappadocia in Anatolia. He marries another one off to the king of Pontus, another one of these kingdoms in the north.
Mm-hmm.
And then Seleucus marries his own cousin Laodike to ensure security for the succession sooner or later.
Better than his father already.
Yeah, that's true. Another thing he also does is set up his younger brother Antiochus Hierax as the governor of Anatolia while he's headed east.
Okay.
So that part of the empire is under control.
Good.
Although since Antiochus was still a teenager, it's probable that Mama Laodike is the one who's
actually
effectively ruling that part of the kingdom.
Okay, but like there's a problem, which is that Ptolemy has taken or plundered most of the empire by now.
Yes, he's plundered the rich parts of the empire, basically.
So what are we doing?
Well, now Seleucus is heading east to try and retake the plundered bits of the empire, which are not going to be as great, but at least it'll be his.
That's fair.
Yeah, so we don't really have much information on the following years in a theme with the previous Syrian wars, but what we do know is that Seleucus manages to capture many Syrian cities, not all of them. He manages to retake Mesopotamia and sort of get a handle on the eastern provinces.
Okay.
And he seems to have pushed south into Ptolemaic Syria, even apparently getting to the city of Damascus.
Huh, okay.
So that's pretty nice.
Working on it then.
Yeah, and it seems that this worked out. You know, it could have worked out either because Ptolemy was far away in Egypt dealing with this rebellion, or maybe because Seleucus actually told everybody, no, seriously, Berenike is dead and her son is dead. I'm the only king here. This isn't a civil war anymore. It's just a foreign invasion.
I see.
And these cities sort of opened their gates to him.
Did he know? Or is that just his narrative?
I mean, he probably found out when he got back to Antioch.
Right.
Because he managed to take Antioch back.
Oh, yeah, I was going to ask. I was still doing that. I was still getting the capital back.
Yes. Did manage to get the capital back.
Okay, good. We're back in the game, BB.
Yeah. There's also a suggestion that maybe Ptolemy wasn't really trying too hard to keep these places because the Ptolemy's strength is in the fleet, so he would have never been able to properly control Mesopotamia because it's so far away, it's distant, they have a different culture, it's a whole mess.
Yeah, I mean, it didn't seem like he wanted to keep it anyway, just he wanted to rob them and then, off somewhere else.
Yeah, basically.
Plus, is he still going to fight for this empire, or is he just like, oh, I took what I needed, okay, bye now. I have to deal with my own things.
Well, in 241, we get a peace treaty between the two.
Ah, okay.
Because this is where Seleucus gets the Callinicus epithet.
Oh,
because
okay.
it's a glorious victory,
tell.
a great victory. It's just from the peace treaty. It's just that he managed to basically claw the empire back from the brink of destruction. And it was like, okay, cool. We're at peace now. Please don't hurt us, Ptolemy. There we go.
I guess he just officially becomes the king with no
he's
other
finally
opposition. Yeah.
Clear it up. But the problem is that you could also see this as a pretty ironic nickname, as in like, yeah, nice victory. Because according to the terms, Ptolemy takes a lot of different cities in Anatolia from the Seleucids, a lot of the coastal cities on the area. And the most insulting thing he does is he manages to keep the city of Seleucia in Pieria, which had the double importance of being the port of the capital of Antioch. So anything reaching Antioch by sea has to go through Ptolemy. And also, it is the burial site of both Seleucus I and Antiochus I. So their graves are now in the hands of Ptolemy, who can just look across from his city to the Seleucid capital and essentially keep a knife at their throat for as long as he needs. So that's not ideal.
Yeah, you think so, huh?
Yeah. So there we go. That is the end of the Third Syrian War. But at last, Seleucus is at peace. He can settle down in Antioch, sort of organize his paperwork, and send some letters to his brother, try and say, hey, how is the West doing? Anything weird happen while I was gone? At which point, he receives a letter back from the West.
Oh boy.
Where it says, Antiochus Hierax is now king of Anatolia. Recognize me or perish. Also, he has so many Galatian mercenaries.
Hello, dear older brother. It's me, your little brother. Guess what? You?
Also in the letter it says, P.S. Mom supports me.
P.S. I'm her favorite. Get wrecked.
Yeah, so sort of like Parysatis with Cyrus the Younger.
Yeah.
The mother's going for the younger son.
Interesting.
Also, it seems likely that Ptolemy had encouraged Antiochus Hierax to declare independence with funds and some covert military support. So.
Actually, that is a great move. I love that. It's like, oh, just pitch the brothers against each other. That's fun.
Yeah, because, he doesn't need to own everything. He just needs the Seleucids to be ineffectual and not a threat.
Fair.
Which is why Ptolemy III is probably the best Ptolemy, because
he
gets further than anyone else.
Yeah. He knows how
also,
to
he's
do
growing the
things.
Library of Alexandria, which is always nice to do.
Oh, fun, yeah.
Yeah. So what happens? So Seleucus now, receiving this letter, decides, okay, fine, I need to go crush my brother. Let's go west. So he gathers up an army, moves in towards the center of Anatolia, where the Galatians, who are allies of his brother, live. And there is a great battle near Ankara the next year, where, unfortunately for us, Seleucus is crushingly defeated by his brother.
Well, I mean, unfortunately for us, until our next episode, it's gonna be fine.
Yeah. Unfortunately for this episode,
I guess.
Seleucus is crushed in this rebellion. So he flees back to Antioch and he is forced to make peace with his brother and says, okay, fine, you can keep Anatolia. Sure, I lost a third of the empire, but this is fine, I guess.
Okay, so now we're splitting the empire, or what are we doing?
The empire is split. So Antiochus Hierax has all of Anatolia, and Seleucus II has basically Syria, Mesopotamia, and the eastern provinces.
Huh. All right.
So there we go.
How are we going to deal with this moving forward?
It's going to be complicated. Because, also, just to mention it, Antiochus Hierax doesn't decide to pursue the kingship further because there's a rebellion of the city of Pergamon.
Okay.
Remember the one that Antiochus I didn't want to conquer at the end of his life because he was tired?
Yeah,
one.
he was like, I don't care enough, you guys.
Yeah, apparently they've declared war on Antiochus Hierarch, so he had to head back to the west and couldn't take the whole empire for himself.
I see.
But you were talking about how we deal with this situation, and we deal with it poorly.
Fun.
Because Seleucus gets a letter from the east, and it says, "Hey Seleucus, there have been nomadic attacks from this Parni tribe for the past few years, and the people are becoming independent enough that they don't care anymore about your rule, so they've declared full independence."
Love to hear it.
Yeah, so it looks like this might have already happened when Ptolemy took Babylon and basically cut off Seleucus from the eastern provinces. But basically what we have is that in Bactria, basically the northeasternmost section of the empire, the satrap has declared himself a king after defeating the nomads. So he's the king, he's the guy that can protect his people, so there we go.
Yeah.
Also, I'll mention here that Bactria is really cool because now they're leaving the empire. We'll be in contact with them for a while, but they're really interesting because it seems that they had a cool mixture of Iranian and Hellenic populations with tight intermingling, as we have a Greek-speaking ruling class, but with a large portion of their army made up of the Iranian nobility.
Okay.
So this
That's always
is
fun.
basically as close as we've ever gotten to Alexander's dream of sort of merging the two cultures. But,
that's true, yeah. Look, Alex, it happened after all.
Yeah, not under you, but,
Not thanks to you at all, but,
But this is not the only side that declares independence. We also have the governor of the satrapy of Parthia, which is basically the northern bit to the east of the Caspian Sea, just made his own independence. Problem is that a few years later, the Parni nomads absolutely destroy this satrap and make their own kingdom in his satrapy.
Well, it was nice while it lasted.
Yeah. And they found a new kingdom, the kingdom of Parthia, under a king named Arsaces, who is the founder of the Arsacid dynasty, which is going to be very important later on. We'll hear about them for a long while.
Okay.
So there we go. So we have two bits of the empire have fallen off, and now it seems that the semi-independent rulers of Persia, whoever they were, are becoming more independent than semi. So there's enough Seleucid authority around that I'm still counting Seleucus as a ruler of Persia, but only just.
But it's iffy at this point.
Yeah. I had to have a long, hard think about it to see if he still counted. Well, so at this point, Seleucus decides this is a problem, I need to deal with this, because I've lost 2/3 of the empire now. I would like to retake some of it, please.
Whoops.
So he decides to launch an expedition against the Parthians, these nomads who have settled down in Parthia. But his army is defeated in the first battle he manages to fight with them. It could be for two reasons, either because his army was greatly reduced from all the fighting and the civil wars and all the messes and blah, blah, blah. Or it could be because maybe he was still hoping that the king of Bactria was going to help out as his supposed vassal somehow.
Sure.
But that didn't happen. Yeah.
Well.
So in the end, we're not sure what happened in later battles. We know he lost the first one. Then further ancient authors give us conflicting claims. We're told on the one side that the Parni were stopped and they didn't expand any further. They remained in the region of Parthia. While others say that Seleucus was just defeated and had to run away.
Oh, well.
But yeah, the end result is that Parthia is now independent and Arsaces is now king. So there we go. At this point, Seleucus is feeling pretty sorry for himself because of everything that's happened.
Yep.
All of this mess makes us wonder how the empire was being ruled in this period, what was going on. Because it's lost Anatolia and the east, which is the richest provinces of the empire. And also the port of Antioch is under the control of the Ptolemies, which means that importing or exporting everything comes under huge taxes.
Right.
What's going on? And also Syria has been thoroughly pillaged by Ptolemy in the last war. So the few territories Seleucus still has are the pillaged ones.
That's fine, I'm sure. That's okay.
Yeah, so everything is sort of on fire. We also receive reports of violence erupting in Babylon. where there are like 3 different revolts in 8 years.
Oh.
We're not sure who was fighting, but the Babylonian tablets tell us that the royal guards were fighting with the army.
Ah.
So clearly things are not going well.
Yeah, that's not a
if your
good
royal
sign.
guards are fighting your own army. So Seleucus, on his way back from the east, arrives in 229 in Babylon itself. He enters the city, settles it somehow, and then he has to decide to appoint another Seleucid to govern Babylon while he tries to deal with all the mess everywhere.
Right.
Now, the problem is that there aren't many Seleucids left. Not many men, anyway. Because the only Seleucids are Antiochus Hierax, which is an open rebellion. Then there's Seleucus himself and his 2 sons. That's it. That's all the dynasty.
Oof.
That's dangerous territory.
Yep. Looking not great.
Yeah. So first of all, Serial, can you guess what the names of the sons of Seleucus are?
Antiochus and Seleucus.
Almost, actually. We don't have a Seleucus.
Oh,
We
Antiochus
actually have
and...
an Alexander.
Oh!
Yeah.
Look at that. It's going all the
Where
way
Alexander is the eldest son and Antiochus is the youngest.
Some wishful thinking there, I'm sure.
Yeah, hoping that things will go up there, but you'll see. So, Seleucus appoints his younger son Antiochus, who's like a teenager. He's like 14 or 16. He's very young. He appoints him to be the governor of Babylon while Seleucus deals with everything else. And apparently, Antiochus is doing a reasonably good job at governing Babylon.
And Alex?
Alex is going with his dad in
Okay,
case of danger. So what happens? Returning to the narrative, we have that while Seleucus was in the east, he got news of Antiochus Hierax. And apparently, this Antiochus was fighting the new king of Pergamon, this little city, and their various allies. And Antiochus was soundly defeated. He was defeated so badly that he lost all of his kingdom of Anatolia to Pergamon.
Oh. Wow.
So that's not great.
So I guess we're not having an Antiochus Hierax episode.
No.
Whoops.
Because he managed to mess up everything he had as soon as possible.
I thought Seleucus was done for, but I guess not.
No, not yet.
Yeah.
He's down but not out. So, yeah, Antiochus, after losing his entire kingdom to a city-state,
Yes, you do.
which is very embarrassing, takes the few soldiers he had left and decides, okay, you know what, fine, I don't really have a reason to stay in Anatolia, I might as well take Syria. So he tries to go to Syria, he tries to attack Antioch, but the city's too strong, so Antiochus decides, you know what, let's aim for Babylon, maybe we can convince them they're not so loyal, since they've been rebelling a few times, let's go there.
Maybe we can have them on our side.
Yeah, we'll see. So Seleucus hears of all this news when his newly prepared army for an eastern expedition was heading towards Bactria.
Mm-hmm.
And so he decides to wheel round to try and save Babylon and go back
Oh, damn.
and defeat his brother.
Was Antiochus expecting his brother to turn around and face him?
We don't know if he was expecting it, but he was definitely very poorly prepared because...
Okay. Because I imagine if he was hoping his brother would go away, because like, aha, this is my chance.
Yeah,
and tries
that could have worked.
That would have been terrible.
It's like, oh no.
Oh no, he actually turned around. Ah, help.
Yeah, apparently that wasn't even necessary because one of Seleucus's generals in the area just defeats Hierax and sends him running away.
Okay, well, that's that.
Yeah, so Hierax then flees all the way to Thrace, where apparently there's no one that hates him.
Yet.
But there he's captured by a raiding party made up of Celts in the region.
Oh, well, no.
And these Celts send letters around to his relatives and local kings asking for a ransom for
Right.
Hierax.
Did nobody answer?
Nobody answered.
Oh no, I knew it. That's terrible. Oh god, nobody cares.
Yeah, nobody cared enough to pay money to get Hierax back, so...
That's terrible.
Yeah.
I thought Hierax would be such a cool character, but never mind.
No, I mean, he's interesting, but not
Yeah, but-
very talented.
Now I'm sad. Why
Yeah, so what do you think happens to him now?
why did Laodike put her trust in him?
I don't know.
Well,
I mean,
if
why
you
did
can't get-
Parasatus trust Cyrus the Younger? frankly. They're both incompetent.
Yeah, that's true. Maybe it wasn't her after all. I feel like the problem when you've been kidnapped so that people can ask for a ransom and nobody is willing to pay for such ransom is that the kidnappers tend to not need you anymore, and hence you die. So
that is exactly the thoughts of his kidnappers. The kidnappers kill Hierarchs when they find out, well, he's worthless. We don't want an extra mouth to feed, and he's clearly not a great general, so there we go.
We kidnapped the wrong guy.
Yeah, we should have kidnapped Seleucus
the wrong brother.
Else.
Except, Seleucus might have been harder to kidnap.
Yeah, he had an army and, he's lost most of his empire, but he's at least trying.
Yeah.
So now, the situation in which Seleucus is in is that he has two directions he can go in. He can either go to the east, try retake Bactria and Parthia.
Right.
And consolidate the local rulers of Persia and all that. Or he can try and attack west and try and take back Anatolia from the former city-state of Pergamon. So what would you have done? What do you think is the best course of action?
What is the most pressing matter? What are the consequences if we take one versus the other?
Well, Anatolia is closest to Antioch,
okay.
Which is problematic.
That's a plus. Or, a minus, but like a plus.
Sure.
That's why we should go there.
The eastern provinces are sort of close to Babylon. They could get to it, potentially. And Babylon is basically the richest area of the empire from which a lot of the cash comes from.
Yeah.
So that could
Whatever
be dangerous.
Ptolemy didn't take.
Yeah. But also, it seems like he already has a peace treaty with these kingdoms, at least with the Parthians. So what direction would you prefer?
I guess the first option seems to be make the most sense. If Babylon is not in immediate danger.
Yeah, basically. That's Seleucus' thought process as well. He decides, I'm going to take Anatolia and resecure the center of my empire so it's not attacked on all sides.
Yeah.
And also, there's the advantage that Pergamon was, until a few years ago, a city-state, so they might not yet have full control of Anatolia. Like, it'll take time to expand all their government infrastructure, so they probably have a relatively light hold on that part of the empire.
Okay.
So, off we go. Seleucus begins planning for a large invasion to capture these lost lands. He gathers a big army in Antioch, prepares all the troops together, confirms the appointment of his son Antiochus to the governorship of Babylon while he's away.
Right.
He brings his son Alexander with him to, both learn from the campaign and also be the heir in case anything terrible happens.
True.
And so Seleucus heads off to the west.
Okay.
He starts marching with his whole army.
Okay.
Puts on his armor, gets up on his horse.
Please don't tell me he dies. Right now.
So Seleucus is heading west, but it seems like there's some problem with the road.
Okay. Oh god.
Because we're not sure if it was like some sort of pothole or some loose rock on the ground
literally?
anywhere.
I thought you were going to be like, oh, there's some problem with the road. Nah, never mind, it's bandits. But
no, it's actually the physical road.
Oh, okay.
And what happens is that eventually it seems that Seleucus' horse stumbles.
Okay. Oh,
Seleucus loses his balance, falls off his horse, breaks his neck, and dies.
Oh my god, Seleucus, what the Another... Didn't we have a death like this before? It was a really silly, fell off a horse, fell onto my sword kind of...
Cambyses accidentally stabbed himself with a sword and died of infection.
Quotation marks, accidentally stabbed himself,
Darius was around.
Yeah, exactly. Oh my god.
But yeah, so poor Seleucus just... Right he tried so hard, the poor man.
I was finally rooting for him. Like, I was finally convinced he was gonna be so good. I knew it when you were like, so we're getting ready to do this thing. I'm like, oh no. We're not gonna get there, are we?
Yeah. So poor Seleucus, he tried so hard. He was just running back and forth to try and secure an empire that was constantly in flames, and then he just died at the end, falling off his horse.
Imagine
no glorious death
the
for
shock
him.
of like suddenly just like, oh no, he's not moving. Guys, he's not moving. Help!
He's like, oh crap. Oh no. Oh dear. Somebody call Alex. Tell him the trash fire is his now.
Yeah.
Quickly.
Yeah, so actually I know this is for next episode, but like his sons are there with him, right? So like what
One of his sons is there. But
Yeah.
Essentially, without spoiling too much, by default, since Alex is there with his army,
Yeah.
with the royal army, he is there with the king. He just sort of succeeds by default.
Yeah. Okay, that's what I.
And we'll see
figured.
next episode if Antiochus makes trouble for him. But
Oh God.
for now, we'll see what happens.
Oh dear God, Seleucus, what the hell?
Poor Seleucus.
That's
You had a
terrible.
reign.
Oh, I feel so bad.
My poor guy. And it's not like he did a bad job. I think it was just like the circumstances were just terrible.
Honestly,
He just had the worst deck of cards.
I kept being like, okay, this is terrible. Okay, yeah, no, he's not gonna. He did make it. Okay, well, I guess that's as much as. Oh wait, that also worked. And then by the time I'm actually like rooting for him properly, he just broke his neck on a road accident. What?
Yeah. Things happen. At least he wasn't struck by lightning.
Oh, who was struck by lightning?
Probus, I think? Yeah, I think it was roughly in the same geographical area, but it was Probus in the crisis of the 3rd century.
Oh,
Listen to Totalis Rankium if you haven't for some reason.
Having a figure like that struck by lightning is just... That's hilarious. Anyway,
But yeah, so... Are you ready to rate this poor man, Serial?
I guess. Yeah, please, it'll also refresh my memory so I can draw him later.
Very well. So, our first category is final moments. How interesting was his death? Breaking his neck, falling off
Hilarious.
a horse while trying
hilarious
to
might
put
be the
things
wrong
together.
word for it, but
Yeah. I'm sure he wouldn't have found the humor in it, but,
oh god, just so badly. It was not even that badly timed because, like, it could have been worse.
Yeah.
Just
been better.
unexpected.
Yeah. I'm sure Hyrax is kicking himself in the afterlife saying, if only I'd lived like 2 more years.
Well,
I could have actually claimed the empire properly.
if you hadn't gotten yourself kidnapped.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I'm impressed mostly because of how funny this death is. Because it's just so dumb.
Yes. It's so
just
silly. I
happened.
love it.
The road was just a bit messy in this one point and the horse tripped and yep, that's it. Lights out.
Yeah, you don't even have to fall from that high up. If you fall wrong,
You're just screwed.
Well,
Man.
I would say, I don't know, man. I'd say like a 5 or a 6. It's very funny. It's not
good.
funny. I don't want. Listen, don't come for me, Karma. Listen. I know it's not funny, but it's also just like unexpected and strange and just unfortunate. Let's say it's unfortunate.
I'm also between a 5 and a 6. Let me see. Who did I give a 5 to? Who did I give a 6 to? I give a 5 to Cambyses and a 6 to Darius III. Which, okay, I guess.
think I'll go for a 5. Same as Cambyses. Same energy.
Yeah.
Actually, Cambyses is like, it could have been an assassination because Darius was around there.
Could have been. No evidence of it, but might be. I'm going for a 5 for final moments. You know what?
Yeah.
Let's go. You too?
Scene.
Okay. With a 5 and a 5, you get a 5 out of 10 for final moments. Next category is battle hardness. How good was he at war and conquest and mostly defending his crumbling empire?
Well,
Yeah, let's recap what he managed to do. So, first of all, on the downside, he lost the center of his he lost all of his empire at one point.
whoops.
Because he lost the center of the empire to Ptolemy,
Things that happen.
which is not great. But on the plus side, he managed to retake most of that area from Ptolemy, which was nice, I guess. It doesn't seem like Ptolemy was trying super hard to keep it, but,
Well, also he
Seleucus
wasn't
got it
like,
back
he
at
lost it
least.
because he was getting there, like he wasn't there to protect it.
yeah,
You
exactly.
know.
So it's not too much demerit.
It was a civil war. It wasn't like Ptolemy started attacking him like in the middle of,
Yeah, sure. There's that start of the reign. Then he tried to fight Hyrax in Anatolia, but lost and had to recognize the independence of Anatolia.
Mm-hmm.
Then he found that he lost bits of the east, so he went to try and fight the Parthians, but lost again.
Oh, whoops. Lots of losses I'm seeing.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Then one of his generals defeated Hyrax, which I guess is good.
But that's a general, not him, but sure.
I mean, it was under his command. It
Well,
still counts. we gave points to Artaxerxes IV for
That's fair.
things his general did.
Okay, that's fair. You should know how to appoint the right people to be generals.
Yeah, I think that's good. You don't want them to rebel midway.
That'd be terrible.
Yeah. And then Seleucus just died before he could attempt another campaign. So, a lot more negatives than positives.
Yeah.
It's not great. I think it mostly depends how much demerit you want to give him for the losses and how much merit you want to give him for not permanently losing everything to Ptolemy. Because also, based on the humiliating terms of the peace,
yeah,
probably didn't, have a crushing victory that sent Ptolemy running and begging for peace. It was more Seleucus saying, please, I'm so tired of everything. Just give me something.
Please don't hit me.
Yeah, I'm somewhere between a 1 and a 2, honestly.
Do you think he did that badly? I mean, he lost a bunch. That is fair.
He just kept losing. No shade on him. It was a difficult situation, but still.
This might not be why you're remembered. That's just how it is.
Honestly, I'm going for a 1 because I gave Antiochus II a 2, and I don't think this compares.
Yeah, let's go
I'm giving
for
just a token 1 because it could have been worse, but not by much.
I agree. It can only be worse. That doesn't mean it went nicely.
Yeah. Sorry, Seleucus, so you get, with a 1 and a 1, a 2 out of 20 for battle hardness, which matches Philip Aridaeus. And Darius III. Not great examples to follow in.
Well.
But there we go. Next category is scheminess. How good was he at plots and manipulation?
Was he?
There is one event here that I can point towards. The one event is the fake Antiochus II proclaiming him heir.
But that was his mum.
That was his mum, but, maybe he helped. Presumably he was in on the plan. Depends how much credit you want to give for either side. And also following up on that is the murder of Berenike and baby Antiochus. Which, again, some historians attribute to his mum, but they always attribute it to the woman in question if it's a sort of sneaky murder. I don't think it would be right to deny all credit to him for this. Or
I think you're
for
right.
The murder of a woman and her son.
That's fair.
So, I think it deserves some points. I don't know if somewhere between a 2 and a 3.
I'd go for a 2.
Thoughts? 2?
I wouldn't go for more. I do not have enough of a excuse.
Considering the mother effect, I guess we could just give him a 2. Or I can give him a 2 and you can give him a 2. So with a 2 and a 2, that is a 4 out of 20 for scheminess. Next category is shock factor. How shocking was this man? Married his cousin, but frankly, this is exogamy for a royal family, honestly.
At this point, do we even care?
Look at the Ptolemies, this is just the most onion bread you could be.
You're right.
So
that's not a shock factor. We've seen this before. Like, of course, to modern eyes, but
it's
just a thing.
It's fine. Well, a couple of things which could be in Ehrenschein, but let's see if we want to put them. He lost the tomb of Seleucus I and Antiochus I. He let Ptolemy take it.
Yeah, that's bad. That's not shocking, that's just bad.
Yeah. And then, the second thing I was going to say, which is probably more just bad than shocking, is he lost 2/3 of the empire.
Yeah. Also, his death, very interesting. And just the whole going back and forth with his brother and the legitimacy, but I don't think that's that shocking. That's just royal politics.
I don't know if to give a token point or if it's... Honestly, I'm going to go with a 0. I don't think... I mean, the murder of the woman and child... but that's just politics, honestly. Who hasn't murdered people for politics?
In this podcast? Well, not that many people,
Yeah. No, honestly, I'm going for a 0. Are you matching?
No, there was nothing particularly shocking about him that made me go, gasp, Yeah. I feel like that's what it should be.
Okay, so with a 0 and a 0, he gets a 0 out of 20 for shock factor. Next category is Ehrenschein. How good was he for the empire in general and Iran in particular? As we mentioned before, he lost all of the empire at some point.
Literally all of it.
He lost all of it. He just managed to retake 1/3 by the skin of his teeth. He continuously lost against his rivals in Anatolia and in the east. Now, the east is partially taken by some nomads, partially semi-independent, partially fully independent in Bactria. And the center part of the empire he still has been sacked by Ptolemy multiple times. Also, again, he lost the port of Antioch.
Yep.
He lost the tombs of the founders.
Yep.
He has no money. There were several rebellions in Babylon, fighting between the army and the royal guards. There are only 2 Seleucids left, his son Alexander and his son Antiochus. And after that, we're done. And on the plus side, he kept a bit of the empire. The empire still exists in some form, but
it's not doing great, huh? It's worse than it was before.
It's much worse than it was before, yeah.
Yeah. I don't think I can give him points at all.
I'm going through my mind trying to find
we don't give points
a single
for,
points
oh,
to
well,
give
it could
him.
have been worse. We give points for things that are actually positive. Even if other things went badly.
Yeah, I think a case that is similar is Artaxerxes II, which also has the brother fight, where he almost lost all the empire.
Yeah.
Just barely didn't. Mostly through luck.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the pain.
Yeah,
the pain in your voice.
I can't think of anything. I'm sorry, Seleucus. Nothing personal. I feel bad for you. You seem nice. You tried your best, but yeah, 0. So a 0 and a 0 gives a 0 out of 20 for Ehrenschein for poor Seleucus. Callinicus. Seleucus. Yeah, nice victory.
Okay. So a little bit sarcastic, I guess.
Yeah. At least I'd read as sarcastic. Okay, next category is Face of Faces. What do you think this poor man looks like after everything that's happened to him?
Alright, just give me a moment, I guess.
Go for it. Okay, so Serial has finished their drawing. Let me pick it up, and I will describe it to you all lovely people. Okay, the preview is
I told you it was very
promising.
Apocalyptic.
Okay, I love this. It's very good.
Okay, is it too much? I don't know. Is it? I
think it's the correct amount. That's the vibe good. I got from the sources. Okay, so we have Seleucus here, dressed in a nice robe, sort of like what Antiochus had last time.
Mm-hmm.
And he has a nice diadem, nice curly hair. But the most notable thing is that he basically has his hands to his face. He's holding his face with a distraught look in his eyes. There's just like absolute horror. And all around him are flames everywhere because everything is on fire. Everything is gone. Oh my goodness, how is he ever going to fix this? Oh no, he fell off a horse now.
Whoops.
So, thank you, Serial, for
You're
this
so welcome.
brilliant drawing. That makes us remember how bad things are right now. After the last god drawing, this is a tone shift. Okay, so in the meantime, let me show you what he actually looked like. Again, this is a coin. I think it's slightly on the younger side of his reign, but I'll let you see it, Serial.
Let's take a look.
There you go.
Oh, fun. Yes, this is a different person. This is really cool. These are really good portraits. They look like people. Which, like, I'm sure it's stylized in some way, but, like, it has features that...
Yeah, you can distinguish two people.
Like, if you saw this person, you could be like, ah, yes, that's you. Yeah. It looks like a real human, so to speak. Mm-hmm. Oh, that's very fun. Yeah, it's a profile with a diadem. Hair slightly less curly than the predecessors, but, in the short, slightly wavy kind of style that is the fashion at the time.
Mm-hmm.
A long nose curving slightly upwards and a bit of I don't want to say underbite because it's not really underbite, but just like a prominent upper lip and like thinner features. Younger as well. Yes, you're correct. Perhaps like a mid-20s, mid-30s kind of... Mid-20s probably kind of look. And yeah, just it's a good portrait. I like it.
Yeah, and also I don't know if this is just like a feature of the coin, but it kind of looks like he has sideburns that go down to his jaw, which
Oh, yeah. Well, I
be
feel like
another
it
thing.
just looks like longer hair that instead of going around his ear
Could
is
be.
like in front of it. I would love for it to be sideburns.
I mean, that would be the closest we've been to a beard in a while.
Yeah, now I want to draw this particular person. Like, it's a very particular profile, and I'm like, now I want to draw him. And not whatever, I made up, but like...
Well, you can channel him for his children.
I guess so.
Antiochus II look a lot like Antiochus I, so there we go.
True.
Okay, so what are you thinking for Face of Faces here?
I like it quite a lot. I like these portraits a lot. And they're also contemporary, which add extra points, of course.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm gonna go... What did I give Antiochus first and second?
You gave Antiochus I a 9 and the second a 5.
Yeah. I think I would go for another 5.
Okay, another 5. Sounds fair.
Yeah. Antiochus I got a high number because it was the first one of these that we saw, and also we had the comparison of like young Antiochus and old Antiochus. That was very good.
That was cool.
This is a good portrait. I like it.
Yeah, I think I'm also going to stick with a 5 because, it's nothing overwhelmingly beautiful, but it's cool. I like it.
Yeah.
It's, a solid 5. So, with a 5 and a 5, we get a 2.5 out of 5 for Face of Faces. Next category is lengthiness. How long do you think this man ruled his burning empire?
He was probably like late teens to early 20s when... Like, he was a young man when his father died, is what we agreed.
Yeah, he was.
So that's what I'm gonna call it. And then a whole bunch of fighting happened.
Mm-hmm.
His little brother also became a man, at least enough to, like, try and threaten him and, do some shenanigans.
Yeah.
So I'll say maybe 15 years? Between 10 and 15? I feel like that's a bit much. I don't know.
Okay. Actually, it turns out that the Seleucid Empire combusts very slowly because Seleucus managed to rule for 21 years.
Oh, wow. That's much more than I expected.
Yeah, from 246 to 225.
So I guess we don't have that much information because it didn't feel like that long.
It was mostly just running around with little information and just,
Oh, war here. Oh, rebellion here. Oh, they took the city. Oh, we're taking it back.
Yes, it was basically overstimulation galore. Okay, so 21 years divided by 10 gives us a 2.1 out of 5 points for lengthiness. Which leads us to the final score, which is to say 15.6 points out of 100, which leaves him 2 points above Artaxerxes IV and about 5 points under Sogdianus.
Okay.
Which isn't the most successful reign.
Well,
I feel bad for him because I think he had more potential, but it's just,
it wasn't terrible. Like I said, I was rooting for him at the beginning, but just what the hell? Nothing got done.
Yeah.
Everything got lost.
Yeah, there's strong Gallienus vibes in that he was fighting everywhere but still lost 2/3 of the empire.
God knows what would have happened if he hadn't fought.
If it was just hierarchs in control, it might have just been worse.
Because Ptolemy didn't even try to keep anything, so like, would he just have attacked and then retreated and then be like, okay, bye?
Yeah, maybe. Perhaps. Who knows?
Because this wasn't a Ptolemaic threat. This was just one more thing.
Yeah, it was
messing things up, but not,
goodness. But that leads us to the final question, which is everything on fire enough? Is he running around enough? Is he surprising enough to be called a Shahanshah, or is he just a Shahanah?
I'm very sorry, but I don't know.
Yeah,
No,
there isn't much of an argument to call him a Shahanshah. I'm sorry. There's few sources. Everything is going wrong.
Yeah.
So, sorry, Seleucus, but you have to go off into the desert. You can meet your father and berate him repeatedly for not having fixed the succession before everything went in flames. Because it's mostly Antiochus II's fault that
again,
everything is gone now.
It's just bad if you do not leave something in place as we have learned time and time again.
Yeah, so there we go. That is the end of today's episode. I hope you'll join us next time for... Do you know who's next, Ariel?
Alex?
Well, the name I have here is Seleucus III. Let's see what happens to make that happen.
Well, what happened to Alex? Oh no!
We'll see.
Oh, okay. Fine, I guess.
Stay tuned.
Find out. Oh.
Don't turn the dials on your podcast device. We'll be back in a week. So thank you for listening. We hope you had a good time. Please rate and review us on your app of choice if you can. We always appreciate it. And without further ado, we hope you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye.